be, it's all fun and games until you're live on Facebook and
Yeah.
questions. And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Facing Fears show. It's gone from like just a Facebook Live to a whole show, Mel. I'm riding on this roller coaster, loving it.
Good for you.
So I'm delighted to be joined all the way from Chicago, the Windy City, by Mel McSherry today. And I know Mel through a program that I did last year and early this year. And she is a super badass, and you're an amazing coach and motivator, and you've a great way of seeing things and sharing that information with people. So I guess if you'd like to maybe tell people a little bit about what you do and how you help people to be their best.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me. So jazzed to be starting my day with you and everybody else. So I'm an international business development coach and speaker. And I predominantly work with women business owners who are exhausted and overwhelmed by everything that they think they need to do to be successful. And my passion is to show them how to prioritize their time, their profit avenues, and themselves correctly. So every single day, they are truly creating the business, the money, and the life that they want. And this has definitely been, it's apropos all the time, but it's definitely been extremely pertinent at this time with all of this fuckery going on. So it's been really great to be able to be a resource for women throughout this period to just, hone in on who they are, what they want, and, control the time that they have, because they really do have control.
I love that you said what people think they need to do. How does that show up? What are people thinking that they need to do?
I can't tell you specifically, but I can tell you what causes it. And a lot of that is that comparison syndrome, right? We've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, we've got TikTok, we've got all of these things. And we see people accomplishing things that we want to accomplish. And most of us naturally think, well, I have to be like them, act like them, do the same things they did, and that's going to cause me the exact same success. And it's not true, because it happened for them because it's them. So instead of looking at the different pieces and taking them and customizing it to what you want to create, people are basing off their systems and their goals off of somebody else's morals, values, work ethic, environment, whole nine yards. And it's setting people up for failure. So then we're just spinning our wheels and we're just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, but not necessarily taking that time of self-inventory of, what do I want to create, and what are my strengths, my not so muches, and what's that resource that's going to strengthen that first. So getting out of that overwhelm of, well, she did this and he did that and they made 10K in 10 minutes. It's just like, take a breath first.
It's such that outside in living, and it's like it's the buzzkill of everybody in finding success in whatever it is that they want to have in life and in thriving. When we start looking at everybody else, it makes us feel uncomfortable about being who we are, or worse still, we don't even know who we are, because we're modeling ourselves on other people, thinking that's what I need to do and that's who I need to be.
Yeah. And even just, off of your point as well, we're letting others define our definition of success.
Yes.
And understanding your definition of success is so important. And I will be completely honest, I thought I had my definition, but I didn't realize up until about a year and a half ago, I was still subconsciously basing it off of other people and influences. And it wasn't until I had that final, what? That I did another self-inventory of, okay, what am I doing and why am I doing it? And what is really the things that make me happy? And what really is the lifestyle that I want? Like, what is my definition of success? And when I really took the time to sit with that, that helped bring that clarity so much faster. And then from there, reprioritize, reapply, and move on. And this year has, even with all of this going on, has been my most profitable year so far. And that's, when I speak of profitability, I always mean it threefold: mentally, emotionally, and financially. And I think that is because that last hurdle of me trying to like hook myself into somebody else's success or coattails or what have you, it's, you know, you're talking about your fears. I think it was that fear of defining it for myself and then really pronouncing it and going, it's nobody else's but mine, and I can't blame anybody else but
me. I know. And that is like, I suppose I've had so many revelations in the past while of, like, I look back at my teens and my 20s and my 30s and maybe some of my 40s, and that I was never fully able to be myself, like to be really me, because I was constantly, oh God, what do they think I meant by that? How did that look now? And you know, so I was so much caught up in that. And it's only as I've started to go, oh, you have to let yourself come out. And it takes time to kind of be authentically you. And I guess for anybody out there who is struggling, they're struggling to find their self, they're struggling to be themselves. How did you do that for you? Or what would you advise that they do to just be them?
Yeah, you know, first I always like say it's a process. Like, I didn't wake up going, oh, I'm gonna have an undercut and I'm gonna say fuck every other word and like have tattoos. I always tell people, if you would have met me even 10 years ago, you probably couldn't have even picked me out of a lineup. I was very shy. I was very reserved. My goal was to be mediocre. Like, I just wanted to just slide by. Yeah.
My cousin Vinny. Oh, you blend.
Right. And that's how I was, you know, almost my entire life up until my mid-30s. And a lot of it was, I didn't want to look bad for somebody else. I did, you know, I'm Lee and Tom's daughter, so this is how I should act. I'm Drew's little sister, so this is how I should act. I'm this person's best friend, so this is how I should act. And I was always basing off of what I did to compliment or to highlight somebody else. And it wasn't until I've been a business owner since 2010, and the second transition of my first business was into network marketing. And the network marketing company that I was a part of really pushed personal development. And at the time I was like, I don't want to hug a stranger and like high five myself in a mirror. Like, I had no idea what personal development was. Like, I had like the Susan powder, like that's going to age me. Like the Susan powder in my head, or like, you know, just you're good enough, you're strong enough kind of thing. Anyway, so I didn't really delve into it until I went to their first conference and I heard Darren Hardy speak. And he's the author of The Compound Effect, which was the first personal development book I read cover to cover. And I read probably once or twice every year still.
Cool.
And it was when he started speaking, I was just like, this makes sense. Like, it's not just rah, you know, motivational, now bless and release. He was motivational action steps. And I was like, yes, like this is what I need. I need somebody to tell me, okay, now that you've riled me up and empowered me, now what the fuck do I do? Yeah. And that's what I really loved about the compound effect, is it started getting me on that path of recognizing my limiting beliefs, recognizing my self-sabotage, recognizing my procrastination. But he made it to where it wasn't attacking. It wasn't, you know, this magical fairyland that only certain people can find. It was these tangible, just check-in points. And it was from there that I really understood what personal development was. And I now do it. It's been part of my morning routine for the last 7 years.
And through your, I suppose, your own development, your own growth and learning, you know, how have you seen it stack upon itself in that, you know, I know where I was kind of 5 years ago, and I thought I knew it all. I'm done now. I read one book. Well, right, but I'm fixed. Yay!
Hallelujah.
And you know, you sort of like I often say to, you know, to my clients or when I'm doing workshops, that this is not a one-stop shop, okay? The day you stop growing is the day you stop die, or the day that you die, and that's it. And, you know, I look back now and go, oh my God, I hadn't a clue 4 years ago. I thought I knew it all. And I know that in another 4 years. So how has that been for you, in that you're stacking that and going, learning new things? And I think it's important for people who've never or haven't really started on the journey, that they understand that it is a process, but it's so enjoyable at every step.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, this goes back to, I talk about this to my clients as well, and it does always go back to prioritization. So when I talk to my clients, or when I talk to people about personal development, I always coin it this way. What is the first, not so much, because I don't believe in weaknesses. What is the first, not so much, you want to strengthen to help you get with what you want? Get to where you want to go, get to who you want to be, what you want to accomplish. And even just that simple question, that gives people a moment to prioritize of, okay, what really is that first thing that's going to make everything else successful faster? Like, you don't even, you know, so if you're going back to, if you're an entrepreneur, people are like, I need to know Instagram. Okay. But you don't know who you are. You don't know your message. You just want to be an influencer. So there's deeper things there that you actually need to strengthen before you can like kick ass and take names in Instagram. So what is that? And it is a journey. I know for me, my first thing was I really wanted to stop getting in my own way.
Yeah.
And so and I didn't know what that looked like. And when I heard Darren Hardy speak, I was like, there it is. So a lot of it is for me setting that intention of what's the next not so much I want to strengthen. And then I just kind of see what keeps popping up. I'm very woohooey that way. Like, what books do I keep seeing people read on Instagram? Or what's the conversations keep having? And what is the questions I keep asking myself? And I almost let the personal development book find me, which is pretty funny, but it's true.
No, it is true. It does. It does. And, you know, because obviously there's a plug for every socket, and there are some people that will resonate with you, and there are some people that will annoy the shit out of you.
Right?
And it's important. Yeah.
I'm not a Rachel Hollis fan. She drives me up a wall.
Yeah, Mel Robbins, she annoys me. Shouty. Yeah.
Mel Robbins. Oh. But yeah. So that's the thing, like, but you have to know that for yourself first. Like, you have to know how you want to be spoken to and what you need to be successful, and put that into action. And I think that's the biggest kicker, is that a lot of us are personal development gurus or students, but 95% of us don't put a quarter of the shit we learned into any type of action plan. It's just, I can quote Tim Ferriss up the yin yang. Great, but you're still a miserable cow. So what does that mean, right?
Yes.
So it's having that like steps of, okay, this is really sitting with me. Again, going back to prioritization, how can I start utilizing this throughout my day to make my not so much stronger? And then once it's kind of part of my routine, what's the next thing I can implement? Like, we're such an all or nothing culture. And I talk a lot about this with my clients in my signature talk of, you know, and I'm sure you've had days like this too, where it's like you had one bad day or one bad moment, and all of a sudden your entire week's shot to shit. And you're like, I'm going to start again on Monday. No.
Yeah. You're like, oh, well, I've started now, so I might as well just completely spiral control.
It's a system, a process. They're like, well, I only like step 1 and 2, which means I can't do any of it because 3 and 4 don't sit with me. No. So take 1 and 2, utilize the bejesus out of it, and bless and release 3 and 4. Like, see what other process can, strengthen 3 and 4 or what have you. So it's that customization and that understanding and connection of personal development is personal. So you need to customize it to what you really want to strengthen and what is the best way that you can do that actionably every day to make that bigger difference.
Yeah. And I mean, nobody is ever going to know you as well as you know you. And the whole point is you learning to connect with that on the inside and trust that person, and whatever vehicle helps you get there. You know, if it's a Tony Robbins or a Rachel Hollis or a Michael Neal, or it's, whatever helps you to get to the place where you know who you are and you connect with who you are, and you just feel, this is me. I like me. This is pretty cool. I think I'm going to hang out here more often. And yes, there's other people outside of me doing stuff. Mm-hmm. And well, bless you and good for you and on your journey. Mm-hmm. But this works better for me because I know what I like.
Exactly. And it's those little ahas of this is who I am, this is what I like, this is what I want, that keep continuing that journey to where it is customizable to you. And that is so huge of just looking at somebody and be like, well, God bless you, Susan, for making $6,000 in 60 seconds. Like, oh no, that's not my journey. And I'm, and yeah, again, I'm human. So there's still days where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what am I doing? Why can't I do that as well? But that's just because it's not my journey. This is my journey. I need to be present in it, enjoy it, grow it as I can. And I will be the success that I want to be in the time that I have. It's just giving myself that grace and patience, and sometimes just blocking people from social media and doing my thing.
Yeah. And if you need to do that, then do that. Mm-hmm. I'm doing a Michael Neal program at the moment. And, I was on a call with them last week. I was asking a question. I was there, Michael, you would have annoyed the shit out of me if I had heard you a few years ago.
Seriously.
I just wouldn't want to have heard what you are saying. It would have been like, well, I would have been so defensive. But like all he's saying is the truth, and
you have to be in the right place.
Me saying that, he's a pretty straight up kind of guy, but and like it is so true that when we're looking at everybody else and it's the compare and despair. Mm-hmm. We block what's meant to come to us. So like if everything is flowing, and it is flowing because we're just energy and energy flows. Mm-hmm. But if you're like, I need to be over here and I need to try and force this into place because this is what everybody else is doing and this is what people are, and I don't trust that I have the ability to figure that out inside of me. Mm-hmm. But over here is your shit waiting to manifest itself into your life, but it can't because you've got to like talk to the hand, and you're the hand. I'm trying to do this thing.
Sorry, it's mirrored, but I love it when you speak American, Tracy.
Talk to the hand. The face ain't listening.
Brilliant.
And it like we do that with our stuff, what's meant to come to us, we push it away. No, I can't do that because over here, this is what everybody else is doing and I need to be doing it. And apparently, you need to get tattoos and an undercut and swear a lot. That's
the key. There you go.
So great in lockdown. I don't know about you. But
I decided to do just the comb over because it's 8:00 in the morning here, and that's what my hair decided to do. But totally to your point of, it's finding, and in bonus with that too, right? With what you and I both do as coaches is also finding somebody that gives you that space to process fully for yourself, right? It's so great to have friends that you can vocalize your ideas to, but all of them are just going to be like, oh, that's such a great idea, and no action steps, right? Or you might get some jealousy. Relationships are always interesting as you start growing yourself personally. And I like to warn people of that.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's true. But the thing at first is that once you're starting to develop that part of yourself, whether you're an entrepreneur or this is purely personal, you still need to have that outside person to continue to give you that space to grow even further. Because you can only do so much on your own. And it's beautiful and it's brilliant and it should be something that you do every single day. But to get to that level that you probably want to go, that's where having an outside person, like a coach, like a therapist, like accountability, just somebody who has nothing but your greatest intention at heart, but is going to poke you off that bridge just a little bit faster out of total love, right? And that's what I love doing with my clients is giving them that space to vocalize all of the fuckery, vocalize all of the fear, vocalize what are the what ifs, the whole jazz. having them take that deep breath and then just sectioning it out, compartmentalizing, whatever you want to call it. So it's not this big monster anymore. I always say this, I use this analogy of, we have all these things in our head and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's like that monster underneath your bed when you were a kid. Like you would lay there in the dark and all of a sudden it get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But then once you've shone that light underneath and you saw that it was nothing but a bunch of fuzzy slippers, then it's like, oh, like, why was I so scared? And that's how I see personal development. Personal development is that light, right? That you're just shining underneath. And then you need that next person or that next resource to give you more space to make it smaller, 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 and smaller. So then every day you crush the fuck out of it the best way you can.
And that is definitely something that, and I think everybody who has come on as a guest so far has spoken about the importance of asking for help.
Yeah, and that was huge for me. I mean,
me too.
And I still struggle with it. Like, hand to God, I still have moments of, no, I can do this.
But we do. Sometimes we get so full of our own shit, and we get so convinced that our thinking is true that you need to have somebody else to kind of go, oh my God, that is such a load of crap.
Seriously. Yeah, it's definitely, and you have those moments, and it's remembering those moments as well as, okay, when I did this on my own, I was tired, I was miserable, it took me forever, or I never even accomplished it. But when I asked for help, not only did I enjoy 99.9% of the process, but I actually got it done and I'm moving forward. So it's those reminders. And I use that a lot with my, with my clients of playing devil's advocate. What would you rather prefer? Would you rather prefer you still sit here 6 months later,
like a hamster in a wheel going around,
still racking your brain, still, hitting that same wall, still going, what the fuck? Or would you much rather in 6 months have that completely off your plate? And not only that, but you've grown mentally, emotionally, and possibly financially. Like, choice is yours. Yeah. And but then it goes back to that fear of, am I worthy? Do I deserve it? I mean, that can just go into a whole nother.
Yeah. And I suppose there's a fear that, somebody's going to change me and I don't want to change. This is something I suppose that I see a lot is people have a fear that if they go and speak to a coach, that they're going to find all of these problems. They're going to find that they're broken and that, you're doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. And that's not it at all. Like,
no, any coach worth their grain of salt would never do that.
It's not that it's going to be like, oh my God, you do this and you do that. So it prevents them from speaking to somebody because they think somebody's going to find all of these horrible things that are wrong with them. When in actual fact, any coach that I know knows that every single client coming to them is perfect. They are perfect and they have everything that they need within them. They are good enough. They're intelligent. And I mean, for me, I'm not telling my clients what to do. I am helping them recognize that they already know what to do.
Exactly. My favorite saying is you have everything inside of you to answer the call of your soul. You just have to find it. And that's what I help you do. I just facilitate and I listen and again, help strengthen those not so muches that you want to strengthen. And I would never in a million years be like, because people sometimes ask me, what's your process? Well, my process is to help you prioritize your time, your profit avenues, and yourself correctly. Well, what does that mean? Well, I don't know. Let's have a session and find stuff. Like, I don't have a da-da-da-da-da. I have these guidelines that I use, just like check-in points, but not all of them are going to be applicable.
No, you can't. Right? I mean, you won't have the same conversation with every single client. And if you go in there with the set, this is what we're going to talk about today. Well, then you leave no space for exploration and seeing, let's see what comes up today. And let's see this maybe with fresh eyes. And so you can't really have a set pro. And sometimes it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to completely throw that out because, and certainly as a coach, I'm constantly learning as well and growing. Okay. And we learn from our clients. And it's like, okay, you know what? I was going to do this, but fuck it. I don't think that's going to work. Let's try something completely different here. And that's what it's all about. It's all just learning.
Yeah, it's always a process. Even, coaches, we don't know everything. We have our strengths. We're constantly learning and getting coaches ourselves. And that's the beauty of it, is that, when you help somebody, you're not helping I'm just going to say this. I know you're going to know what I'm talking about. When you're helping somebody right now, you're not helping who you are now. You're helping the person who you were 5 to 10 steps ago. And that's the beauty of coaching, is or that's just the beauty of just owning your own business in general. Like, your ideal client is the person who went through the problem that you already solved for yourself.
Yeah.
And so you know what you're talking about. Do you know everything? Fuck no. But you know what you're talking about. You know what worked for you. You know how to talk about it. You know how to work it, and that's where your clientele comes from. That's where your offers come from. That's why there's a million of us coaches. Yeah. And we are all different and successful in our own right, because we speak differently. We have different action steps. We just have different ways that we work, and we work with different kinds of people. So even having that confidence too, of understanding, again, what do you want to create? How do you want to work? What does this really look like for you? And what is that not so much that you want to strengthen, and who could be that resource? Who or what could be that resource for you to keep growing in the way that you want to grow?
Yeah. And, and it's to recognize that fear is just the imagined known. The only real fear out there is, I'm going to die, or going to be seriously harmed. The rest are all just trick of the mind, like a mirage. And when we stop taking them so seriously, I know for me, a big part of even just in the last few months was like, oh God, stop taking yourself so seriously and just have a bit of fun with things.
And that's, it's, going back to talking about, what people think they need to do to be successful. I also like to reference who they think they need to be. Like, oh, again, I can't curse. I have to look a certain way. And I totally got caught up in that. I mean, got caught up in that, on what a coach should sound like, what a woman entrepreneur should sound like whole 9 yards. And it did take me some time to slowly but surely go, oh, this is my life. This is my business. And the people that were coming to work with me when I was trying to, I wasn't a totally different person, but I was not sheltering, but I was censoring myself. Those clients were okay. But now I love my clients because they are me. And they, in return, also love that I'm their coach, not to toot my own horn, because I talk like them and I look like them and I am myself. And that was definitely another part of the process of who am I as a business owner, and who do I want to, who am I, and what, why is that so important? And what are my non-negotiables, and what is my joie de vivre? What is my image, all of that. And that is probably some of the most important work that has helped me develop what I've been able to develop in the last 3 years, even though I've been a business owner for 10.
It's like it's the foundation, Yes. And, if anything that you are building, if it's a shitty foundation, the chances are it's going to probably fall down, Whereas, and certainly the online program that I've just starting, Be You Bravely, that is the crux of it, is to help people. Who am I? Like, who really am I? And to feel so comfortable and connected with yourself that you have the foundation, whatever it is that makes you feel good, or whatever it is that makes you thrive and be successful. Because like you said, it is very different for everybody. But you also have to, and there's the fear of people won't like me. And part of being you is being okay with people not liking you. And it's not even about them not liking you.
No, it's not. They don't not like you. They don't like that piece of themselves that they can't amplify through you or personify through you. That's what it is.
It is that, and it's really, and it's maybe people don't get you, and that's okay too. Not everybody is going to get you, understand you in the same way that you don't get but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. You're just you're perfect. And the more that we can embrace our individuality and our quirkiness and it's just makes the world so much more interesting.
Oh, definitely. It makes the journey a lot more fun, even on the shit days. I mean, because it's not that you're consistently running from yourself or pretending to be somebody else. Like, that's exhausting. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Yeah. But when you do have those moments of, I had a shit day, but you know what? I had a shit day. And this is how I reacted to it. What are the things, and this is me personally, like, this is how I reacted. This is, what I learned. This isn't like, I don't do this like right away, but I always take those times, especially on Fridays, just be like, evaluate the week. Like, what worked, what didn't, mentally, emotionally. Like we were talking before we popped on, like this week for me was hard. It was a hard week. We've been shelter in place here in Chicago for 2 months. We've got probably 2 months more. There's all of these things. I'm homeschooling an 8-year-old. I mean, homeschooling is very loosely termed.
Yeah, but we don't talk about that in this house here.
But it's, but again, it's still.
They'll all be behind. Right. It's better if we're all behind together.
But it's definitely brought up other triggers of fear, right? Of, this is a different situation for me. And the things that I did before aren't working because I'm now in a different environment. I'm now a different person, and I'm understanding new nuances about myself and my son. And so it's been a whole new learning factor of now what is my fear? And now who can I, find to help me, which I have an amazing spiritual team that we have sessions, and they've been so helpful, as well as just my colleagues, my friends, like everybody's just been such a great support circle. But in order for that to be the success that I need it to be for myself, I need to still recognize that fear of, of just vocalizing it.
Of just that it's showing up and that's what it is. Okay, this is happening. It's a fear. Okay, now that I know that, we can do something about it.
Yeah. So it definitely keeps coming back to really sitting with it and recognizing it. And then what is that first thing that you can do to start shedding light on it so it does just get smaller and smaller and smaller?
Yeah. And for you, like when that fear is there and when it shows up, how does it impede you? Like, do you notice it getting in your way, and how does that show up?
I would say I do definitely notice faster when it starts to pop up. It's interesting, though, to be completely transparent. When it's a fear in my business, I feel like I have a great handle on that, and that actually turns more into an actionable trigger for me. So if I'm a little bit scared of something, I know with every fiber of my being that means it's because that's something I'm supposed to do, and I just need to suck it up, buttercup, and do it. Of course, there's different levels of fear, and you learn how to recognize those for yourself. But if it's just a fear of like, oh my God, what are they going to say? Or I'm not, they're going to find out I suck. Fuck it, do it. You're fine. But when it comes to my personal life, that's been a different kind of journey because I've spent so much time focusing on my personal business development that my personal side, when it comes to relationships with my partner, when it comes to relationships with my son, that's now shifted because I have a little bit more energy and focus to recognize it, if that makes sense. Okay. So it's definitely brought on new triggers. But again, I'm now applying what I've learned through my professional personal development, and that is find support, find a team, find that person that can help you walk through this, not faster necessarily, but more cohesively and, more sanely, if that's a word.
Yeah, I think that's a good one because, sometimes we get a little bit crazy shit in our thinking and,
And so that's now been my focus this year. That's focused with who I now surround myself as far as coaches. They're more on the spiritual, personal side. And, I've developed a team on my professional side that now supports all of the foundations that I have laid, and we're just continuously building that. So for me, it's been this, this kind of back and forth, but I know at the end of all this fuckery with everything that I've learned personally, myself as a whole person, mom, business owner, partner, everything is just going to be that much stronger and is just going to take all of me to that next level. And I'm really excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah. And I think that's lovely. And I think it's nice that you recognize that we can be confident on a professional side, still a little bit fucked up with the whole personal style. Because I think I can get a little bit of that because I've immersed myself so much in my business for the last few years that definitely the other side of my life has just been, I've no time for it. I'm too busy.
Right? I've got to make money. I've got to do this. I've got to hit the next milestone to prove my worth. And I'm like, but I don't even prove my worth.
It can go. There can be an imbalance in that. And I definitely have seen that in myself, in that really, I just don't have a life. No, when lockdown happened and you realize that, this isn't really all that different to how my life was beforehand. Okay, we seriously need to do something about this, and it's good to have had the space to recognize it and to embrace it and go, okay, well, look, let's see what comes up with that. And I love the thing about being excited about the future, even if you haven't a clue what it holds.
Because none of us do. Nobody holds the key. Nobody has a secret formula that they're just hiding from you because they're assholes. Nobody knows what our future looks like. We can have our true north direction. We can have our intention. We can have our morals, our values, and our non-negotiables.
But they shift. And that's the thing is that our true north today is over here, and then in another year it's like, well, actually this kind of looks exciting down here. So
sometimes it's like a month. Lockdown happened. I was like, okay, so my true north is now over here because I now have this situation and this is my energy level. So it's constantly shifting. So, and that's not a sense of failure. I think that's a fear too that people have with setting goals. They're like, well, I didn't accomplish it, so I failed. No. You just learn something new.
Bend in the river. So
just having that goal it's something that you can reverse engineer off of and plan your attention and your actions around. And the minute that's just like, I didn't hit it. And I'm sure you do this with your clients as well. It's just that moment of, okay, what were the obstacles? What kept coming up for you? And they're like, well, I just keep focused. I keep wanting to do this. Brilliant. So maybe that's your next maneuver. So let's take the actions that you've already established to this true north direction. And we don't have to change anything because it's just a routine. And now what not so much can we strengthen? So this true north gets to you, right? And so it's always that process of, recognizing, applying, and moving on.
Yeah. And having fun.
Not
taking it all so seriously.
You're gonna learn what you need to learn. And it's a journey, and this ain't for everybody, especially the world of entrepreneurship, which is why we are who we are. But you need to really, going back to that personal development of, you really need to understand who you are. You don't have to know your entire self because you won't. But right now, one of my favorite check-in questions that my coaches gave me was, in this moment, what do I know to be true? And just having that as your first starting point, the good, the bad, everything in between. Like, what do you know is true in this moment? And then what is that first thing that you're just like, I don't like that? Okay, so that's probably the first thing you are now ready to work on. So what's that resource that's going to, get you into that? And it's always a process of self-discovery, and I fucking love it.
Well, with Michael Neal, he would, it's like, well, it's a given or it's a thought. And given has to be able to, you have to be able to put it in a wheelbarrow.
Love that.
Anything else is just a thought.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so what are the givens? What is the given in your life right now? Well, for me, I have 2 children. I can put them in a wheelbarrow, and I have 2 dogs. I can put them in a wheelbarrow.
Push them off a river? No, just kidding.
14-year-old, yes.
My neighbor's dog, who apparently decided to go crazy, which I apologize for that background noise.
Mine haven't, because I have to put them in another room because they do. But everything else after that is just a thought. And I think that's so important. It's like, oh, well, it's a given that we're in lockdown at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
What the future holds, that's all just a thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And thoughts can change. And
exactly.
When we change our thoughts, we change how we feel, you know, and we change the level of desire we have to do something when we change our thinking around it. And that's it, you know?
And the thinking definitely naturally starts changing when you just stop focusing so far ahead and really being present.
Yeah.
And really just going, what do I have in front of me right now? What do I want to accomplish today? Who do I have around me? Like sitting, having that intention. And I always tell, you know, my clients, like, I want to know your big picture. And then we're not going to talk about it because you already know the big picture. And the more that we talk about it, the more it's just this like big thing. Now that we know the big picture, let it go. And let's talk about today. Like, what is that first thing that you want to do? And what is the time that you have? And I think that as well is that helps alleviate so much anxiety, because it's not this, I don't know how. Well, I have an idea, but let's get through today and see how you really work and what you really want. Because again, that big picture is not going to turn out the way that you want it to. It's actually going to be way better. And so don't limit yourself by being married to this massive idea that's not even probably going to be remotely close to what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, go with the flow. I think that's, I remember seeing a video that Wayne Dyer did, obviously years ago because he's been dead for a long time now, but he was doing the interpretations of the Tao Te Ching, and in one of them he talks about, you know, if we could just be more like water, considering that we are mostly, actually there's an episode of Star Trek, I'm doing Next Generation at the moment.
I love it.
And there was this entity and it was trying to find words to describe what it saw in front, and it was like mostly bags of water was how it described the humanoids, mostly bags of water. And Data's like, you know, technically he is actually correct. You are just mostly bags of water. But if we can be more like water and just flow, because water always gets where it wants to go, and it doesn't need to do anything other than just flow. And it's like let's just be on a river and just flow and see where it's going to take you. And I think it's the resistance to that that really causes the majority of our obstacles. We're just resisting where we're naturally meant to be flowing to. And again, that goes back to because we're looking at what other people are doing to try to decide what we should be doing for us.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's definitely, another thought in my head, but it just went away. So never mind.
I'm sure
it'll come back to me. But I do, you know, that's what it was. You know, some people get turned off like, well, I don't want to be flowy. I'm not a flowy person. I like to coin it as you can be structurally unstructured. So you can have those tangible action steps, right? You can have that plan of action, but you do need to give yourself that patience and that understanding that shit's gonna go south sometimes. And no matter how amazing your action plan is, no matter how much personal development you've done, it's gonna happen. So you always need to take that moment, however that looks for you, whether it's meditation, whether it's just screaming into a pillow, what have you. But definitely have that moment of acknowledging, okay, this is not going the way that I wanted it to, recognizing, and then just re-looking now at the time that you have. Now looking out, okay, well, now what's sticking out to me, and what is that next structured step that I can do to keep maneuvering. And I'm purposely not saying the word pivot, because I swear if I hear that word one more time, I'm going to lose my shit. So I've been using the word maneuver, because that's really what we're doing is we're just, you know, we're recognizing, we're reapplying, and we're moving on. And you can still have a plan of action to help you feel in control, but you still need to give yourself that permission of it's gonna be wonky in between sometimes, and you need to recognize it. Can't ignore it. It's gonna bite you in the ass. And I'm talking from myself here, like personal experience. Taking the time to just sit with it for a minute and recognizing it is going to give you so much more clarity and energy to move forward than you just keep pushing and ignoring. So, you know, you can structure it both ways of being flowy, but still having that action plan in place to support you in the best way you can.
And I think that's great advice. And I think that's definitely where a lot of people need to be right now as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mel, thank you so much for coming on. That was our chat and some wonderful wise words there. And I'm going to put your contact details in the comments box. So if anybody is, in looking for a business coach, is looking for some help at the moment in getting their shit together and getting greater clarity, they can reach out and contact you. Perfect. And also, I will put details to my new online program, Be You Bravely, which is starting in June for the first round. I'm really excited about it. And it's, and as I mentioned, it's really just to help people connect with who you are and give you the foundation to create whatever the hell you want after that. But at least you'll be coming from a soulful, authentic place.
Love it.
Thank you, Mel, and thank you for everybody who joined in to watch and for your likes, and see you all soon. Bye.